Well, hey, Dani, thank you so much for coming back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. I am very excited to chat with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a joy to be returning. This is my second time with you, and I can't wait to dive in and have our conversation.
Yeah, I had to look. It's been over 2 years, which is like way too long. Because you and I, with the part-time job that I have, we talk almost all the time. It's
Yeah.
just not in a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, almost daily is when we're having a conversation. So it'll be a joy to really do it officially
Yeah.
on the podcast.
Yes, for sure. So I was hoping you could reintroduce yourself and tell us about you and your family, how you serve women, and maybe like one thing you like to do for fun.
Yeah, awesome. So my name is Dani Watson, and I have a podcast too. I have a podcast called Fig and Farm at Home, where I teach busy women how to decorate their homes on a budget. That is not how I started my career. I started as a first grade teacher, but I recognized really quickly that there is a disconnect between all of these beautiful pictures we're seeing on Instagram and Pinterest and the desire for that and the ability to get there. And so I'm taking my love of teaching and this knack that I've learned how to do over the years and am bringing it to what I hope is the masses in big, important ways. I am a mom of three boys who are very active, very sporty, and for fun, you're going to think I'm a real nerd, but you know what? I like anything exercising and anything teaching about that. So I coach on the side. I am an athletic coach, and that is my fun, but I happen to get paid for it too. So I hang out with teenage girls and boys, teaching them how to play basketball and teaching them how to play volleyball. And sometimes it's real cute. And it's also an exercise in patience because sometimes it's real frustrating.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so funny because we get along so well, and yet our strengths are very opposite. Like I always say, I'm missing the design gene, which you probably hear from a lot of your clients. And also, I'm not sporty. I am not super outdoorsy. But yeah, we complement each other very well with that.
Yes.
And when I was preparing questions, this is just so outside my area of expertise. I'm like, oh my gosh, Danny's going to help so much because I can't help any listeners with these things. And I was curious if there was ever a time that you just didn't like something in your home. It could be aesthetic or it could be functional, like things just kind of weren't working. And you thought, like many of us do, that if I just got this thing, it could help me. Or if I just got this one piece of decor, then this would feel better. And then you did it and you're like, oh, that didn't actually help at all. And I just would love it if you, given your background and what you do, had an example of that to kind of relate to the rest of us.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And here's one thing that happens all the time. And now that, I've been practicing this habit for so many times, it doesn't happen for me very often, but I see it with my clients on repeat. It is very predictable. And the thing is, this idea of, you know what, maybe we're ready for the couch, or maybe we're ready for usually it's a bigger piece of thing that we want, the stuff that we want. And the idea of going out because it's now on sale, or maybe we happened upon it when we're doing our Costco run and buying the stuff in that way. And we bring home this couch because A, hubby said, yep, it's time. B, we finally found one that's on sale. C, it's at Costco, so it's super convenient. And we bring it home thinking it is going to function for us. It's going to add beauty for us. It's going to be the thing that we need in order to make our room better. And then we realize, oops, that was a ginormous mistake that we are now married to, and almost like we are now handcuffed to. And what has happened is sometimes if we go into those decision-making practices without intentionality, we have now brought a mini dictator into our lives. And that little dictator now makes all the decisions for every other thing we want to bring into our home and forget the aesthetics, right? Because we've just brought this in and it is now at a price point that we can't remediate by just saying, I'm going to get a new one. We can't do that. So, oh, that happens all the time, Emily. It happens so many times. I hate to admit it. But one other thing that has happened is, this idea of working with clients where we get excited about the sexy thing, right? We get excited about okay, I'm seeing your vision, Dani. I'm seeing where we're going. We've decluttered even to get this, to make the changes. And I'm going to go and buy and buy and buy. And there's the overbuying that has happened, and then I come in and say, oops, you actually bought too much and bought the wrong thing. So we need to eliminate it again. So it happens. It happens, unfortunately, more than I care to admit. But if we step back and go into the intentionality behind it, we can eliminate all of that headache in the first place.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. And also, I learned about something is called the Diderot effect. I don't know if you've heard about this, but
Oh,
yeah, it was a French philosopher. I feel like it's in the 1700s, but the effect is that you get one thing that kind of like is a status symbol or kind of elevates things. And then you have to get the other things to go with it. So, for example, you get the couch and you're like, ooh, the couch is nice, but now the throw pillows are looking shabby. So I have to get new throw pillows. Oh, but with that color, I feel like I need to get this vase to complement that. And you just end up getting more and more and more and more because you're kind of using this one thing as like the baseline status symbol. And now you have to have everything match. Have you noticed that with your clients too when it comes to like this overbuying thing?
oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't know it had a name, but it happens all the time where we're trying to play catch up, right? So if you don't do the pre-work in order to understand your aesthetic or what color palette can make your home cohesive, absolutely that happens because the idea is, oh, now I have an idea that this pillow is the thing I like, whether it's your style or not. And then you buy the complementary textile or the complementary artwork or the complementary books or tchotchkes that go on your bookshelf, when in fact, in reality, what we should have done is done a lot of pre-work in the beginning, right? And I call that slow decorating, and slow decorating is very intentional and it's very curated. And it is really the thing that, when combined with decluttering, allows your home to feel and look um, not only cohesive, but really approachable and livable in a way that's not overwhelming.
Yeah, I have never heard of the concept of slow. See, I say slow decluttering because that's what comes out of my mouth. Slow decorating, but the intentionality behind that feels very approachable to me and not overwhelming, which I appreciate. So I will definitely, because I feel like our home is in need of a refresh just because we were focused on our kids when they were super young and now they're older. And I'm like, oh, I guess we could perhaps make some changes, kind of refresh things a little bit. But the intentionality behind it is great. And I know we spoke last time kind of about, going to the Target and the Home Goods. And of course, it's really geared towards moms who are like, "Ooh, Joanna Gaines. I want to be like Joanna Gaines." Just get all of the stuff. And
Yeah.
we might be there just because we want something specific. Maybe we were there for something else and then we just see stuff. But then we're like, "Oh, okay, I'm just going to get this to go on the table or whatever." But then, as you and I have talked about managing excess stuff, it impacts our energy, it impacts our stress. And so the stuff and like getting that thing at Home Goods that you think is going to work but might not, or, oh, I want to be like Joanna Gaines, so I'm going to get this piece at Target. It ends up causing more stress than anything else. So I would love to talk about this concept of elevating, which I actually learned through Shira Gill. She has a book called Minimalista, and just about like the decluttering is really important, obviously, and then being able to intentionally add decor. And that elevating doesn't mean that we're having to spend a lot of money, and it doesn't mean we have to go to Target and Home Goods to kind of fill that void of us feeling like we need something for our home. Can you talk to us about what intentionally elevating our home on a budget can look like? Because I'm fascinated, because I would love to do it myself.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, this is really the heart of what it is I teach and why I teach it. Because years ago, we had such little money, Emily. We were literally on a ramen eating Goodwill shopping budget, and wanting that refresh, similar to you now, of where do you even start, first of all, right? And there's so many things that you can do right now before you even get your credit card out. In fact, when I'm working with my clients, I will often say, would you go and give your credit card to your hubby? I mean, we are literally not buying anything for months. In fact, we're not even going to talk about the budget right now because that is a misconception that people think that it's going to cost a lot, first of all, but then you have to spend a lot and bring a lot into your home when actually managing and using the things that you currently have is oftentimes a great starting spot. Right. So, one of the very first things, and this is all about the intentionality and setting you up for success, the one of the things I always start with is building the foundation and understanding your style.
Mhm.
And if we think about style globally, like Joanna Gaines, you already mentioned her, right? We automatically think farmhouse. That is a global style that is really big picture, and it is a way for manufacturers to help market to us consumers. But I know that I might have a farmhouse style table and I might really, really like Scandinavian style furniture. And somehow I can marry those two different styles together if I know what it is that is making up those two pieces, right? So if I were to ask you, Emily, when you think of farmhouse style, what do you think of? You might tell me five things, and then Sarah down the street might say, "Oh, actually, I didn't think about that. I thought about these five other things." And then Dani might say, "Well, actually, here's my laundry list of things I think of farmhouse style." And the idea here is that it's all a matter of perspective, right? So really having an understanding of what it is that you like and why it is you like it, but really what it is you like. So doing some intentional work on Pinterest. I always like to come back to Pinterest, and if you don't have Pinterest or don't want to use it, you can do a magazine picture. But having an example of a room that you really just want to kind of crawl out of your spot and into. Like you can picture yourself there, you want to get into there, and you want to explore what is it that I like about this room. And you are now just not thinking about it. You're not just pinning it. You're not just saving that for later. You are making a list of all of the things that you absolutely love and getting into the weeds of that. And when you can recognize not just that I like this because it's pretty, but you like it because, ooh, I like that nail head trim on there. Ooh, I like the brass accents. Ooh, I really love the clean lines, the curved legs, the wheels on the front of the furniture. When you can really identify those teeny tiny little things, that becomes the heart of your aesthetic. And design is all in the details. So if your audience, if your listeners can focus on that intentionality and really understanding the things that they are attracted to over and over and over again that they probably have never even noticed really intentionally, that is going to help them reduce decision overwhelm when it's time to make decisions in the future. It's going to help them save their money, or not save their money, but use their money and spend it more wisely because they now know they can go into Target and say, "Ooh, I like that pillow, but that pillow doesn't match my aesthetic." It now becomes the filter for all decision making, and it can make it a lot easier. So
Yeah.
that's one thing.
I
Yeah.
was I was just gonna say that I got my color analysis done by Color Guru, and I it made it so much easier for me to shop for clothes for
Yeah.
myself because I knew the colors that look good. I know what stores like the shape of things look good. And I never really thought about that as far as like style and home decor and everything. So that is really, really interesting. I interrupted you though. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. But when you understand your aesthetic like that, you can then start understanding the colors you're drawn to, just like you're mentioning. And that is when, you can create a cohesive color palette. And that cohesive color palette is really the thing that we are attracted to when we look at these pictures on Pinterest and Instagram. The things that stop our scroll are the way that it looks adult or put together. And and usually it's attributed to having it look cohesive, look decluttered, so there's not a whole lot of extra stuff, and it looks really cozy. So really starting foundationally like that is really important, and it really is the first step to knowing how you can make decisions moving forward, but how to create a cohesive looking home.
Yeah, and I love that when you have like the foundation that you understand like why I like certain things and you start incorporating those things, then if you're looking for kind of that second level accent, whatever it might be, then you're not just getting the random tchotchke at HomeGoods. Then you can say,
Right.
okay, because I like this certain style and I understand my style, I know the things that would be aligned. So I always think about like free things, like flowers, like fresh flowers or something. But even knowing like what sort of vase or container you would want those flowers to be in, that would align with your style instead of just having, like I do, like the random vase that I take
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
I love that
absolutely.
idea.
But the other thing too, Emily, in terms of understanding your aesthetic, once you have a list of all of those things that you are attracted to, those teeny tiny design details that make the bigger picture, you can use that list to continue decluttering your home. You can use it to go through, and when you're kind of stuck on some of these things within your space, and you can say, because it's a filter, right? You're using it as a filter. Huh, isn't that interesting? I have pewter all over the place, but pewter is not my aesthetic. Brass is. I can get rid of the pewter.
Mhm.
And you can use that as a tool, and it just becomes this beautiful filter that allows you to, again, make intentional choices and spend your money in a way that is more in alignment, probably with your financial goals, right? It allows you to stop going in and spending hours in front of the pillows at Target in that confusion and the overwhelm. But then, too, once you have that list of the things that you absolutely love and you are wanting to shop the house, like when it's time to bring things in, you bring things in that are in alignment with your aesthetic, but then you can just use what you have in order to kind of scratch that decorating itch, right? That I want to refresh. What do I do? Well, you shop the house, and shopping the house means you can literally move furniture, of course, little items, secondary items, what you call them. I call them peripheral items, but those are the things that you can then move room to room because you've established that cohesive color palette based on your aesthetic. So it all comes back really to the foundation there.
Yeah.
But I do want to give your listeners a couple practical, tactical tips that they can do too. I mean, they literally can do that this afternoon, learning their aesthetic. But some of the things that they have, there's a difference between, putting things out, like styling your bookshelf or putting them on your bookshelf. And so I'm going to teach your listeners, if it's okay, how to style a bookshelf. Can I do that?
Please, because I need to know. If no one else needs to know, I need to know because I have never styled a bookshelf in my life. Right now, downstairs, our cubbies, not really bookshelf, but our cubbies have two Lego sets on them.
Yeah.
So please help me.
Okay, awesome. So I use a formula and I call it the ladder formula. And it's just an acronym, but it's spelled just a little differently. So it's LDHTR, ladder. And when you think about any flat surface, so entryway tables, credenzas, even beautiful tablescapes, bookshelves, tops of dressers, if you think about the ladder formula, that can be a really helpful tool when you're putting things on. So you want to think about layers and depth, that we are not just having things placed on the shelf. We're making sure that there's just a teeny tiny little bit of a layer to it. So if I have two pictures, for example, I don't want those picture frames sitting side by side. I want them overlapping and layering just a smidge. Even as little as that was, I just showed you, not your listeners, but I just showed you, that can be a matter of an inch. And layering it allows you to have that depth of perception, and allows that 3D effect to happen. Because when you just put things on a shelf and they're just lined up side by side by side, it is more of a 2D thing.
Mhm.
Then we have texture, and texture is so incredibly important. Of course, any matter has texture, right? Smooth, rough, bumpy, fluffy, you name it, it's going to have texture to it. But when you can vary the different textures on your shelf or on your whatever display you're doing, that allows just a little bit of visual nuance, a little bit of visual, a little bit of visual oomph to your space, right? If it's all flat surface, it's going to look flat. If it's all flat texture, it's going to look flat. And then we have the R, which is repetition, and repetition is the key to great design. It just is. And that is the thing that allows your home to be cohesive when you have repeated elements, going back to your aesthetic, repeated elements that you can see maybe 3 times in your room, 5 times in your room, not all on the same bookshelf, right? So you want maybe to have, like, let's say the design element is red and we have one little red stripe that is, now we see the red in the other part of the room. and red right in the corner underneath, so we're having these little connection points, almost thinking of it like a spider web, right? We know in the middle of that spider web is the design element, it's red, and now we're having connection points throughout the room in order to bring it together and make it look cohesive. The other thing I want you to think about is height, and we want to vary the height. So if I'm putting anything on a flat surface, I want to make sure that I don't have the lamp that is as tall as the bookshelf, that is as tall as the plant or the sticks or whatever I'm bringing in. I want to vary the height, and so you want to think about horizontal versus vertical books, putting things on top of the little horizontal stack, layering things behind it like a little picture that is creating that depth of perception and just a teeny tiny overlap. So you're adding a lot of nuance to this one single little spot by just thinking about the way that you're layering it, the way that you're varying the height, the repetition to make sure that that color or design element is not a bully in your space and taking up residence where it shouldn't be. And then thinking about that texture. So using that is going to be really helpful on any flat surface. But you also want to think about ratio. And ratio is really important. And, if you can think about 2/3 ratio in anything you scale, anything you proportion in your space, it's going to be a great starting point, even on a bookshelf. So I don't want to fill necessarily all of my bookshelves with tchotchkes or all of my bookshelf with books, unless you're going for the academic look. You can think about a 2/3 ratio, you know, two-thirds books, 1/3 tchotchke or important items that represent your family.
2/3 books, 1/3 Legos.
That's right. Yep. 2/3, exactly. Or in your case, maybe 2/3 Legos, one third book. Yeah.
Well, I have never thought of any of that before in my entire life. So
Yeah.
thank you. That was really incredibly helpful. And I love talking to you because these things I've just never thought of before. And I love your approach and the intentionality behind it and really understanding that foundation. And can you please tell us where everyone can connect with you and also learn more from you? Because I just learned how to style a bookshelf, y'all, and I didn't know how to do that except for put books on it prior to this. So let us know all the things, Dani.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can connect with me, of course, on my podcast, Fig and Farm at Home. And you can connect with me inside of my membership. It's called The Collective. And I teach these mamas how to do things just like that. So, it's hard to visualize what it was I was just sharing with you, and people need the visual. So, inside of The Collective, I have weekly lessons where I teach them in really simplistic ways what it was I just shared with you and kind of verbally dumped on you and your listeners. But I teach them literally with graphics and pictures and real life examples, and then we hang out too in there where we are doing live group coaching. In fact, it is so much fun, Emily. I have these students who are OGs, right? They're the original ones, and
Yep.
when they're on, I say, okay, are you ready? Get your sneakers on, get your tennies on, because we are literally going to style that mantle right now, live. And we are literally going to style that china cabinet live. And boy, the amount of I don't want to say hope, that sounds really silly, but the amount of joy that these women are getting from creating spaces that really delight them just reverberates back to me. It's like a boomerang. It just makes me so incredibly thankful that I can help them love their homes more because we spend so much time here. Yeah.
Yeah, and you said you had a freebie or something specifically for our listeners to help with elevating on a budget, which I
Yeah.
love. So tell us what that freebie is.
Yeah, so these are my five secrets to elevating your home in a weekend, and these are the same five things that I would tell every decorating client, every staging client, because I started as a stager first. And the best part about it, Emily, is that most of them are free, so they can grab that freebie. I'll give you the link so you can put it in your show notes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming back. As always, you are a wealth of information and knowledge, especially about all the things I know nothing about. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming onto the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.